Hey, Mystic Michaela, spiritual family. Welcome to Know Your Aura with Mystic Michaela. Today, we are talking about some famous couples in history. Ones you may have heard of, but you don't know the full story on. Ones that have seemed to make an amazing life purpose together. And we're going to talk about them in aura color and hopefully get something with mediumship on them. But first, hey, Scotty.
Hey, guys. The first couple I have down on the list is me and you.
Oh.
Should we scratch that?
Maybe.
Okay, yeah. We're not there yet.
Right.
We're maybe one day, but we're not there yet.
Well, I loved this topic, and shout out to Shelby, Dr. Shelby, who makes my graphics a lot. And she's like, hey, you should do these couples for Valentine's Day. And I was looking at them and I'm like, oh, I was like, honestly, and I'll tell you which couples like really got me. I felt called to do this episode from looking at a lot of these people's pictures. It was really fascinating to me. But anyways, in readings all the time, if you're married, it's not just a social contract. Like there's an energetic component to it that is really, it influences who you are. It influences what you do. I mean, not just on the day to day, and I feel like it's important to remember that when you're married or you're in a long-term commitment with somebody, to have something called, I call it a shared vision. This is the number one thing I see is so important for married couples or long-term, whatever, partners. Okay, we'll just call it that. For partners, you have to have, and I'll see it. If your partner's on one page and you're on the other, or you're just living life super superficially, like what's for dinner, who's picking up the kids, it doesn't work. Like you need to have some sort of, you can do it in different ways, but you have to have a certain goal. And a lot of the couples we're going to be talking today, maybe social reform or like science or something like that. It doesn't have to be that. It could just be the family or we want to do this together or whatever it is. You have to have a shared vision. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that totally makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think we do, right? I think we do when it comes to what we're trying to achieve.
I feel like we've always tried to get on the same page.
Yeah.
I think like the part of it might also be my like indigo nature / my codependent issues. Like, cause I'll be like, wait a second, you feel energetically distant from me. Wait a second. We have to get on the same page. What do you want? What do I want? Let's merge that vision together. It's changed over the years.
Yeah, that's true. And I guess the question I have is, our colors, I'm red, blue, you're purple, indigo.
Yeah.
Those seem to fit pretty well. Let's say someone's like struggling. Let's say a couple is struggling to find this like together purpose that you've been talking about. Could it be just because they're colors? Like maybe two colors just is never going to happen. Like let's say someone's yellow, blue, and the other,
right.
and the guy's red, purple or something. It's just never going to happen.
I can't say never. I can't say never because I've seen so many people make it work.
Yeah.
And I think what it is no matter what your aura color is, you have to figure out in aura color, but you have to figure out what, I can only talk about it in aura color. So you have to figure out your aura colors or have an idea, like, and be like, okay, like my partner communicates this way. I communicate this way. What is the problem? What are the walls that we're facing? For example, I see this so much. I see a lot of strong, independent, let's just say yellow women. All right. I see a lot of strong, independent yellow women, sometimes yellow, purple, sometimes yellow, blue. And what don't they do? They don't tell their husbands what they need. Okay. So they're like, they get used to doing it for themselves. And then all of a sudden they're like, I feel disconnected from my partner. And it's like, well, you have to tell him with your words, like what you need. And there's like a wall there with them because they're like, because they have this agreement like, well, that would be weak, or he should mind read me. Or it's like, but that effort, that vulnerability is how you let somebody else help you and you lean on them. So that's just one example, And no marriage is perfect. Like you have to make compromises and accommodations for how the other person works too. But a lot of it is energy. So like, let's say you're saying like you have a yellow and a red. All right. So he's yellow, she's red, or, and they're butting heads. Then you got to go to your secondary colors and you have to, which I'll see people do because maybe he's red, blue and you're yellow, blue. Then we got to go blue when we talk to each other. And then we are red on our own and yellow on our own. And we respect, we don't step on each other's toes in those areas, but we find blue places to spend time together. Okay. So that's kind of how we have to understand it.
Okay. What if like let's say a couple's the same colors. Let's say they're both purple, blue. Now, first of all, everyone's crying. There's a lot of feelings there.
Right.
But maybe that's too much. Purple, like if it's together, could that be?
Yeah, I'll see that sometimes. And then what happens is one ends up being a bit more of a louder energy than the other person, which down the line sometimes can lead to resentment. So the other person has to understand, hey, sometimes I have to take the lead in certain areas. Sometimes you have to take the lead. We have to trade off. The other person has to understand that they're very sensitive too. Okay. And if they're not comfortable admitting that they're purple blue or they're sensitive, if they're not comfortable admitting that, there's going to be problems. Because sometimes I'll see somebody who doesn't admit that they're, usually not the person I'm reading, the other person that we're talking about doesn't understand how sensitive emotionally they are. And then the other person is constantly buffering that for them and protecting them and making sure they don't have to confront those issues in themselves. But in a marriage, like, you got to be authentic. You have to be real, like the good, the bad, the ugly. Like, you have to be honest about yourself. You have to be honest about the other person in a nice way and then love it anyways and find ways to circumnavigate it. But you can do it all like energetically, which is what I do in readings. And sometimes I'll just feel people, they feel single, but they're married. And that makes me sad.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Like sometimes I'll be like, you feel single, but not, and that's because they
what does that feel like?
It feels like sometimes, yeah, that's a good question. How does somebody...
you look at a picture. I'm saying, because remember, they gave you a picture. Let me just kind of set this up front.
Yeah,
so they give you the picture.
Right.
Maybe it's a phone reading or something.
Yes.
They give you a picture. You see the picture. And then maybe they're married. But you say, well, they feel single, right? And you might even say to them, oh, are you single, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So what gives you that? How do you know that?
Well, sometimes I'll be like, oh, you feel single, but not. That's when they feel single, but it's not good. Like they feel sad about it or upset about it. So if somebody feels like sad or upset and single, it's kind of like a lonely feeling. Okay, you feel lonely, but you're living with people. That's what it feels like. So it's kind of like if someone's holding back or they're kind of self-containing, but they don't want to be like that. That's kind of what it feels like to me. It feels like somebody who's lonely. That's what it feels like. If
and you just feel that through the
picture. I just feel through the picture. I'll have to find a different way to explain that because it just they'll feel lonely to me, but like they shouldn't feel lonely in their heads. They're like, I shouldn't feel lonely, but I'm lonely. But sometimes they're not admitting that or whatever. And sometimes it's just because they're an independent person. They'll feel single sometimes, and that's fine. Sometimes in marriages, every marriage works differently. So sometimes people are just a little more independent. And so I'll feel somebody who just feels single, but it just means they're just very independent. A lot of times it has to do with money. I'll tell you, I can tell if you keep your money together or not. Some couples separate money. And that's just some couples do that. Like we don't.
Yeah. I mean, that might be a whole podcast topic.
Money's just energy. Right? I can tell. I'm like, you guys have separate money? Yeah. Okay. Well, that's part of why you probably feel single. And that's fine. That's how you guys work or whatever. But it definitely does add to you feeling more independent or sovereign because money isn't money. And if we just understood this, we'd get more of it. But and all of us, it's very hard to understand that. And I'm working on it too. But money isn't money. Money is just energy. So when you pool it together, there's a lot of energetic intertwining that happens between a couple. Yeah. And I mean, it's everything. It's like groceries. It's like every part of life. It's very intrusive.
Yeah. I mean, we've always put everything together. It's just one big pot. I don't, that would be so weird to me. And I know a lot of people do it, so I don't want to knock it or anything.
It works for some people.
But it'd be so weird. Like, hey, we're going out to dinner. Like, okay. All right, Scott, you pick up the check this time? Or,
that's how they do it. Or they have separate monies, but a shared account that they put in a certain amount to for that kind of a thing, like groceries or going out or this or that.
That would make sense.
Or they have separate credit cards. Everybody does it different who does it that way. Sometimes it's good. We were talking about different aura colors. If one's yellow and one's red, for example, I don't want to be told how to spend my money. I'm yellow. You know what I mean? Don't tell me what to do. I don't want to be questioned on my credit card choices. I don't want to be questioned on my Amazon. I don't want to be questioned. And it's just better for the marriage to have separate accounts, which works for them. But I'll tell you, it can add to you feeling single. Feeling single in a marriage isn't always negative. It depends on all the circumstances, but I feel that too. But I feel the number one thing with relationships is you have to have a shared vision together. That's what keeps it moving forward. Because I just doing all these readings, it's like partnerships aren't just for survival. They're really, or, love, or like whatever you didn't get in childhood or whatever. Like partnerships are really for merging your energy in the best way possible and achieving something.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing. Right?
Right.
We're merging our energy. As I've been told. I've been told that we've merged our energies, that basically we're one person.
Well, yeah. Have you ever, I feel like that's...
We're one big red, blue, purple, indigo mess now.
We're like one mind.
One mind.
It's kind of like in Stranger Things. The upside down, there's like the one mind.
Okay.
And they jump over, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, you remember.
I forget.
In the upside down, you can't touch the gooey things because it's the one mind.
Yeah.
It's like that's us.
That's us. Okay.
Take that how you will.
All right. Well, at least I'm not the guy that got eaten by the vector dog or whatever they call that nonsense. Who played Rudy? The guy who played Rudy.
We watched this whole thing, and we don't remember anything. And we watched all of them.
I'm going to be honest. Stranger Things was not good. All right.
Oh my gosh!
I said it. I'm going to get a lot of hate for that. I understand that, but it wasn't that good.
Randomly,
the first season was good, and then after that, it was downhill. But, all right.
Well.
All right, so I think we're going to do one ad, and then we have these couples. We're going to go through them. I can guess their colors. You didn't tell me their colors beforehand.
No.
But I think I can guess a lot of them, and I think you're going to find this really interesting.
I get really overwhelmed. Sometimes, my metabolism just feels sluggish, or my tummy, I have issues, or I'm just so low energy sometimes. And I know it's because I'm not taking care of myself nutritionally. I understand that about myself. So, but then I get all overwhelmed and I'm like, how do I fix that? Well, Sakara, I'm so glad I found this through the podcast. Sakara has an answer. The new Sakara systems are targeted nutrition programs designed to solve your biggest health concerns, from weight management to digestive problems. Sakara delivers science-backed, plant-rich nutrition programs and wellness essentials right to your door. Their ready-to-eat meals are nutritionally designed to deliver results, from weight management and eased bloat to boosted energy and clearer skin. And can I tell you, it is delicious. It is delicious and it's filling, and I'm a cravings person. Okay. It'll hit me and I'm like, I need to have whatever I'm craving. And I don't have that when I'm doing my Sakara plans, because the way that they feed you, I don't know how they do it, but it's brilliant. And I'm really satisfied, and I feel so much better after I do one of their programs. And right now, Sakara is offering our listeners 20% off their first order when they go to sakara.com/KYA or enter code KYA at checkout. That's Sakara, SAKARA.com/KYA to get 20% off your first order. Sakara.com/KYA. Hey, Scotty.
Hey, guys. All right. So you gave me this topic this week, and I'll be honest. I was, when you first presented it to me, these couples in history, and you gave me this laundry list of them. There was 10, 15 different couples on the list. I was like, I was kind of I don't really want to get into, I don't want to do the history of these. Some of them I knew a little bit about, very little. I mean, I even taught about the first one that we're going to get to, and a couple others. But, I did it so surface that I just wasn't so into it. But then believe it or not, as I started to research them, and I really got into it. So I picked four different couples. And the first one I started with was Marie and Pierre Curie, who, I taught history, as most people know by now if you listen to the podcast, and I breezed through the science stuff. That was, to me, was I got to get through this unit on all the scientists, Rutherford and I don't know, Planck and all these guys.
I don't remember anything.
And I was just so bored with it, because I figured they're all these green dudes, but this was actually the first time I actually did some research on one of these scientists, more than the basic.
More than just their work.
Yeah, more than just their work. Mm-hmm. So this was the first couple. All right. So obviously I think these two are greens, but give us their aura colors. I'm assuming Maria and her husband Pierre are both green. I'm guessing.
So Marie and Pierre Curie, this is the first picture that like struck me. I was like, whoa. Because Marie Curie is turquoise and green. Oh. Now, I've talked about this in other episodes. It's really hard to, like, so when I look back in the older generations, aura colors are all over the place. And it's just because of social norms of the time and what was acceptable or not, and how much of an influence had over, you know, who you were, how much of society had an influence over who you were. So to have a turquoise woman and a green turquoise woman at that, I mean, this, and when I'm looking at her, my number one thing is she must have had such blinders on not to be destroyed by society. And I don't know her story, but she feels like she was probably just so flippin' smart that maybe it was just like, what? Who? Huh? Like that.
Yeah.
And then her husband, I didn't even know she had one because you only ever hear Marie Curie.
Right. And that was actually the first thing that I found so odd, because usually, you know, if you're talking about people in the 1800s, you're talking about the guys.
Yeah.
You're not talking about the women. The women weren't even allowed into the universities to study science, you know, pretty much just a few years earlier. They weren't even allowed there. So very interesting that she's the one that goes down, not Pierre. I didn't even know who Pierre Curie was until this. That's strange to me as well.
Yeah,
but,
and he's green-blue.
Okay.
So yeah, there's two greens in love.
Two greens in love. All right. Well, what did these two, if you don't know what they did, Pierre is considered to be like the father of modern physics. And again, this is a lot of green stuff, so I'm not so into it. This was the hardest one for me to do because they were talking about all their achievements, and I'm just like, what are these things?
Like, I'm sure they're important.
Yeah, and they're pioneers in radioactive studies. That's their big thing. So he was born in Paris, 1859. It is interesting. Now, I know you only have this photo of him from probably, I don't know what year, like the 1800s,
right?
Obviously. His dad, he got all his, they were very poor. So he got all his training from his dad.
Wow.
So I'm assuming that his father must have been green.
Yeah.
Right? If he's green too. Yeah. You know, because his dad taught him all the science and the math and all that stuff.
Wow.
You know, and they struggled with money, so he couldn't go to the schooling for that. So the question then I first have for you would be, could Pierre just be green because his dad was green, or was he inherently green?
Oh, I get that all the time. Like, he's green. This guy is green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But did it come from his father? And
he's very blue, too, so he could have absorbed a lot from dad.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah, you're right. Like, he's very blue, too, and his blue is, and that might be why he also energetically takes a step back from Marie Curie. Even history is like a big vibe, and maybe that's why they're kind of like, not you so much. Marie Curie, that's interesting. Like that. So he's very blue, so it might have accentuated his ability to be green or his ability to understand everything his dad was telling him, and maybe the enthusiasm as well because of his blue. Blue people can learn anything, and a lot of, you know, if you have the mental capacity to do it and you're blue, that's why I see blue people and indigo people everywhere, because you'll just absorb what you don't understand and make it work. It's like osmosis. So yeah, I can see what you're saying.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought. Well, they met. I think it's like science. She was a scientist as well at the time. I think he was possibly a professor when they met. 1895, they get married, and they start to go to work with each other. Now, again, they were both from poor families, so they're both working through all of this. Like, they don't have the free time to figure out new elements. That's what, you know, they're known for.
Oh, okay.
So they're constantly, you know, they're both teachers, professors, and they're working. And they're trying to figure out these new scientific achievements.
So wait, they were the people that found the things on the periodic table?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
They found all those boxes with the letters in them.
They found two. Not all the boxes. Like, helium wasn't them. Hydrogen.
I definitely like to come here with no knowledge of anything and just
yeah. The famous one is radium.
Oh, yeah, I knew that one.
And she goes down as the founder. He doesn't really go down as the founder, but they worked on it together.
Okay.
I found it interesting that they did kind of just reminded me of, you know, bring it back to us, of course. They were working out of like a little shack in the back of their house.
That's like what we do.
It's like our podcast. You know, we got microphone. We used to have the microphones on the books. We put them on the books. And we're low budget here. We're still fairly low budget.
It's true.
And it reminded me of them because they were working with like outdated instruments, and they were working with like us, and they were working with the bottom of the barrel equipment, okay, like us and Jumanji, and so yeah, I mean, it kind of reminded me of us that they had this passion that because I was doing the job trying to do this when I was teaching,
right?
They're trying to do it when they're teaching,
yes,
so they're trying to pull the thing.
How the heck did she get to be a teacher? Like, how did that happen? Like, as a woman in turquoise, I can't imagine what she went through.
Yeah, it was incredible. So again, they founded these two elements, radium and polonium, and she named that after because she was Polish.
Oh,
she was Polish, and then moved to France to be with Pierre. But so those were the two. They get the Nobel Prize.
Wow,
she's the first woman to win the Nobel Prize, and I think in the sciences at least. She actually won two. She won one with her husband, and they shared that with another scientist dude who came up with something with radiology as well.
Okay.
But then he dies. Unfortunately, he dies tragically. I don't know if you want to kind of read his picture.
These two really did stop me in my tracks. Not only because she's turquoise, but also because he is so. And this is weird because it's a long time ago. You know what I mean? And people always ask, like, hey, don't souls move on? Or, like, how does that work? Yeah, sometimes it's hard to read older pictures because they're not as present. He feels very present in a lot of ways. So it's interesting to me. So Philip, to me, feels...
Pierre.
Sorry, Pierre. That's weird. I don't know if Philip is. Pierre, to me, feels like a talker, like on the other side. Anyways, it's a lot... He feels like a support. So a big support for her, support for other people. And the way that he dies, to me, like you said, tragically, but I do get, they had such a love. Like, so it's very sad to me. And it feels like there's a lot of longing and unsaid, but also like they know each other's hearts. So knowing each other so well inside and out, like that kind of thing, even though he left untimely, it feels to me that there wasn't anything lost between them. So I guess it just feels like a really nice love story is what I'm trying to say. And he looked at her like a person. Sometimes green people are like that most of the time when they're balanced. They have wonderful open minds. So back to the whole generation thing, I feel like with him, he didn't look at woman, man. He was more kind of like person, or what are you talking about? Like accepting her and embracing her and not fitting her in a box, which is exactly as a green turquoise she wasn't ever going to be able to be in any sort of box. So I just get that from him. A lot of love, I guess, and a lot of support. That's what it feels like to me.
I agree with that. I mean, because she does go on, he dies in 1906, the way he died was he had a fatal skull fracture. He fell beneath the wheel of a horse-drawn vehicle.
That's horrible.
And died instantaneously.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That's
46,
terrible.
So.
Oh.
But she does go on, like I said, she goes on to win another Nobel Prize after he is passed. And he also had side projects he worked on too, but I think, and I don't know what you could say, one was smarter than the other. I don't know how these scientists work in terms of the intelligence level, but he might have even said to you, like, she's the brains, more of the brains behind the operation.
She feels brilliant.
Yeah.
Like he does too, but he feels like he's a pleaser, like an absorber.
Yeah.
I'm sure he is brilliant. Don't get me wrong. But and just for her to stay turquoise and green at that time, like I said, she must have been she feels smart. She feels otherworldly almost. She had to go somewhere else. And maybe the trauma from her upbringing, it seems like that played into it too. Like she knew how to put herself in a whole different place where just focus was, and she could shut out everything else, which is great when you're a scientist because you have to streamline all that. So I don't know. These two, a lot of energy around them.
Okay. Well, this was the toughest one for me to relate to, being both these greens and the science and all that. So it was a little bit tricky for me, but the next couple, let's move on to the next couple.
Okay.
This one, it really kind of hit home, and I don't know their colors. It is Cesar Chavez and his wife Helen, and I don't know how many people know who these people are. Might be, maybe not as known as the Curies. So this couple struck me because he was kind of like talking to me a little bit when I was doing
really?
the research. So I'm going to guess that he's a red-blue.
Yeah.
So this is a couple. They were migrant workers, farm workers, picking grapes and stuff like that. This is they were born in the 20s, and they became union workers, like to help unions, to basically give life to the plight of the workers in Southern California and Arizona, and they became huge in this. So let's get their colors, and then I'll go into their history. First, let's get their colors. All right, so Cesar Chavez,
he's red and blue.
Okay, that's what I thought.
He has green in there, but I wonder if that was from needing to implement strategy.
Yeah.
Because sometimes red-blue people get passionate and fired up, and they're real good at that with people, but then they kind of are like, oh, what's next? Like, so the vision.
And is she, like, blue indigo?
Yeah, she's blue-purple. But, like, okay. But it's really hard to be indigo, I feel like, for certain people. Like, I feel like just the way she was brought up, there are probably walls around she probably could have been indigo because she's so deep blue, but the walls that were up from just protecting herself and whatnot, I don't see indigo, I see more blue, but that's just cultural and just like what she's been through.
Okay.
Yeah, but and she feels like she feels like the type, wait, what's her name again? Helen?
Yeah.
Helen feels like the type to me where she found her voice eventually. So that's a big problem with a lot of like purple blues or bluer people in general, indigo people. They have a hard time finding their voice. Plus she's a woman. Plus, she's not white, plus it's that time in our country. And plus, where she's at socially. And I feel like she got to the point where she was like, guess what? Don't care. I'm going to say it.
All right. So let me go into a little bit of history of this incredible couple. All right. So both of them poverty, came from poverty. It doesn't even matter which one. They basically both of them basically have almost the same identical story growing up. So Cesar Chavez learned right away about injustice. They had him and his father, or his father had a property that he was supposed to receive. He did all this work to clear the land, and then a white landowner promised that, hey, you do all this, and then you'll get this portion of the land. Of course, he never gave it to him. He went to lawyers. The lawyer said, there's nothing we can do. The lawyer said, hey, why don't you just buy it yourself? He did get a loan from the bank, couldn't pay the loan, of course, and he loses the land, loses it all. So they're drifters, him and his family. They go to California, they were in Arizona, they go to California, they go back to California, they're just working the fields. He gets I think he made it to 8th grade, and then he has to drop out, and he's got to just work the fields, as many hours as it takes. Same thing with Helen. She's working the fields, drops out of school. I think she dropped out 1 year later than Cesar did. Father dies, so once the father dies, she's got to go into the fields full time, and it's a tough life. It's a very, very tough life to live. So I think that, of course, definitely probably puts the red on both, or him definitely, and maybe her too. I don't even know, but. So then they get married. In 1948, they get married. And they have not 1, not 2, but 8 children.
Whoa.
Yeah. So they got a lot of kids.
Right.
A lot of mouths to feed. But, they start to make it a little bit. They're actually making it. You might even consider them lower middle class at this point. But, they're both working real hard. But there's something in Cesar that can't let the injustice go. And this is when I was like, really, he was like really talking. I thought he was like really talking to me.
Right.
And that's why I thought he was red, blue.
Yeah.
I'm like, this guy's got to be a red, blue.
Yeah.
And, and Helen is the one actually behind him, convincing him, like, hey, you got to do this. You got to do this. And it's with her backing that they start to make magic happen.
Wow.
So they leave the cushy. I mean, I wouldn't call it cushy.
Yeah, it's safe.
It's a safe middle class or lower middle class lifestyle, and they're basically gonna put themselves back into poverty to try to help the workers, the migrant workers of California and Arizona, and like eventually other places. And he starts to read. He starts to read. Gandhi.
Okay.
Gandhi. Sit-ins and nonviolent protests and all that stuff, fasting and marches, and he starts to read the works of Gandhi, and eventually he realizes, well, if we do this on our own, nothing's ever going to happen for us.
Yeah.
We have to somehow come together, form a union.
Okay.
So he is considered to be the founder in 1962 of the National Farmers Workers Association, the union for farmers in this region. And he uses the works of Gandhi to kind of guide it, that we got to do the marches, we got to do the nonviolent protest. And really, he just wants to bring dignity back to the farmer.
Oh, wow.
That's his goal. And with this couple, they're together, they're a force.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say, how incredible it is. Their story is just incredible, that this guy worked tirelessly to bring decency and humanity to these people.
Yeah.
Incredible. Love this guy. So
yeah.
What do you get from their pictures?
Well, when I look at Cesar Chavez, I just get this, there's something bigger than this life. And he knew that.
Yeah.
That it's okay to sacrifice. It's so hard to understand, but when you're more 5D, I think, and he was very, very 5D. And so what I'm trying to say is he knew that this life is very short and you have a purpose. And if you have to sacrifice yourself for that purpose, then it's okay. He was going to let it burn for the sake of something bigger than him. And so I got a lot of sacrifice there. And I feel like it's talk about shared vision. She gets it. And she's like, yes, this is what we're doing with our life. And it feels spiritual to them. And it feels like this is worth it. And they love each other, but it's also, we can do so much better together when we throw ourselves in the pot together like that. Talk about complementary colors. He needed somebody to be like, hey, it's okay. And I got your back and let's do this together. And you're right. And I'll help you, and let's, and I feel like they're big on priorities too. So yeah, so he's really strong and I feel like he's still, and it's interesting. I don't follow this and I don't know what this means, but I get a rumble around his energy. That's different. I don't quite know what that. It's like an earthquake or a tremor. I wonder if this is going to start boiling back up. And I usually don't get world stuff or current event stuff, but that's what it feels like to me. It's like his energy is starting to rumble back up. So I wonder if there's any changes or something on the horizon with that world right now or something like that, because it feels like he keeps coming up. So it's interesting because he read Gandhi to inspire. He was inspired by Gandhi.
Yeah.
People I'm sure have been inspired by Cesar Chavez, but I feel like something even revolutionary could continue to happen because of this currently. So it's just interesting to me. That's what I get with him. He's got a bigger kind of some people, they stay in a movement. So when you're kind of talking about it, they're still present. So that's what he feels like to me.
Wow.
But her too.
Yeah. The sacrifices they made. She went back to the fields working for $1 an hour or whatever it was. They put themselves back into poverty.
Yeah.
To get this done. And they did. So he, unfortunately, at the age of 66, he went to sleep one night and he didn't wake up.
Heart.
So, yeah. The guy was working tirelessly. This guy, all these two did was work.
Oh my God.
All they did was work for this cause.
Yeah.
They do get on. They got honored. A lot of honors. A lot of the things that he worked for went back the other way once he died, unfortunately. But, I saw some images with Helen with President Barack Obama.
Oh, okay.
When he was president. So they get a lot of acknowledgement. So that is good for what they did. But this one spoke to me the most of all the stories. Obviously, him being the red blue. And, I guess we all, all us red blues inspired to be like Cesar Chavez. Yeah,
that's really, as somebody with him, it's like, I think that's a problem sometimes with blue people too, with red leaders. It's like they fill the slot and it's hard to fill their shoes.
Yeah.
But part of being a leader is how do I make it so somebody else could take this spot? The spot has to be really the thing, not the name or whatever. So yeah, we need more of him.
Yeah. All right, let's do a couple ads and we come back. We got a couple more couples.
as a parent of a child with eczema, you just never know when those flare-ups are coming. Okay. I mean, it's so hard to watch her struggle with itch and discomfort from her eczema. And, you know, winter's in full swing and, you know, she's been flaring up more than usual. But thankfully we have Gladskin. Since we've been using Gladskin, and then let me tell you, we use every single one of their products and they have a lot to choose from. But since we've been using Gladskin, I actually finally feel like I have some sort of semblance of control or balance over it. Gladskin is a new category of skin treatment that is made for people of all ages with eczema-prone, acne-prone, and rosacea-prone skin. Inflammatory skin conditions are often driven by disruptions to the bacterial environment living on your skin. Gladskin specifically works to target the imbalance in your skin's microbiome. But unlike other skin brands and prescription medications, Gladskin uses MicroBalance, a revolutionary smart protein that restores the balance of the good and bad bacteria that live on your skin so it can finally heal. And it's so effective that 91% of users, adults and children, who tried their top-selling eczema cream reported significant improvement in just 7 days. All right. So Gladskin's new oatmeal-free formula, by the way, if you have a baby, is non-toxic and free of steroids and other common irritants. Pediatricians and dermatologists love Gladskin for babies 3 months and up, and it's approved by the National Eczema Association. So start your journey to stronger and healthier skin today with Gladskin. They are offering my listeners 15% off plus free shipping on your first order at gladskin.com/KYA. That's gladskin.com/KYA for 15% off plus free shipping. Gladskin.com/KYA. I just get I hate shopping, you know? And I just get so overwhelmed with it. And when I look in my closet and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need some new outfits. I need to change it up. I need to do something. Then I get overwhelmed. Well, shopping for clothes, it can be daunting and you never know if things will fit. Returns are difficult. Sometimes you don't even know where to start. But this season, Stitch Fix can do all the hard work for you. Like I let it do for me. When I feel that way, that's when I just make a Fix appointment. It's easy and fun to get started. First, take a few minutes to set up your Stitch Fix style profile. You can answer a few questions about what you like to wear, what you don't, how open you are to trying new styles. It's a really fun, easy quiz. It's all super visual, and I like doing it. Then your Stitch Fix's expert stylist will go to work, finding items exclusively for you. I mean, they really do listen. I put in notes like what size, what I'm looking for, what I'm not looking for. I get real specific. And let me tell you, you could even put in like your budget, how much you want to spend. They listen to you, and then they'll send you, Stitch Fix will send you 5 pieces to try on at home. Keep what you love, send back what you don't, like the shipping, returns, exchanges, super easy, free. It comes with a prepaid envelope. And there's no subscription required. Try once or set up automatic deliveries. There's no hidden fees. Ever. Very transparent. Sign up for Stitch Fix and get the season's latest pieces for women, men, and kids. Sign up today at stitchfix.com/KYA and get $20 off your first purchase. That's stitchfix.com/KYA to get $20 off your first purchase. Limited time offer. Purchase within 2 days of sign up. Hey, Scotty.
All right. So we got another couple here.
Okay.
We have Mildred and Richard Loving.
Okay.
All right. So this was a couple, I don't know if anyone knows about this, very famous Supreme Court case, Loving versus Virginia. Now, this one I do, like when I used to teach history, U.S. history, we'd cover it. Again, I didn't go into great detail on it, but we would cover it. They're an interracial couple.
Okay.
Okay, so Richard, they're both born in Virginia. They're born in the end of the 1930s. So Richard's white, and Mildred she's a mix. So she's basically Native American and some African American ancestry. Okay. I don't know if people know this, but at the time, there were states in the 1940s and the 1950s that interracial couples could not be together. They could not get married.
Okay.
So I don't know. Some people might know that, but some people might
not. Yeah. Teach it to us like we're 8th grade.
Okay. Well, most states,
right.
You could. So if you were in New York and they get married in 1958. So if you were in New York in 1958, a black person, an African American, and a white person could get married.
Right.
But in the state of Virginia, that was totally illegal. And I believe at that time there was like 15 other states, something around there, about 16 states where you could not get married interracial couples. Okay. And they had all the guidelines of how much percentage.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Depending on the state. Like if you're this much African-American ancestry, this much Native American, this much Asian. Oh, they listed it all out.
You know why?
Crazy.
That's terrifying.
Terrifying.
I can still see it happening, though.
Yeah.
Like,
and I'm not sure about these two colors, but all right, let me just I'll go through the history on this one, then we'll do the colors.
All right, we'll do the colors at the end.
A little bit different.
We'll do or at the end. Okay.
Yeah, all right. So they decide to get married, but they can't get married in Virginia, right? Because it's an interracial couple. So they go to Washington, D.C. If you look at a map, Washington touches Virginia. Mm-hmm. Simple. Mildred said, and then they go back to Virginia.
Oh.
So, okay, and again, now it's illegal, but if nobody knows, then you'd be fine, but you have to live in secrecy, right?
Yeah.
Mildred claimed that, she didn't know the law. Richard, she wasn't sure. He probably knew the law. I don't know what his colors were, but he probably did.
Right.
Anyway, about, I don't know, they maybe were married 5-6 weeks. They get a knock on the door.
Oh, God.
It's the sheriff in Virginia, right?
My God.
Little town in Virginia, probably. And he arrests them.
Oh.
He comes in, someone probably tipped him off. One of the neighbors probably said, "Oh, I saw this couple."
It's always the neighbors.
It's always the neighbors. With the HOA, too.
Because you're on the HOA. You guys, if somebody complained about you, it's one of your neighbors.
Yeah, if you live in an HOA community, it's probably
your neighbor.
Yeah, it's not me. It's your neighbor. So basically, they violated Virginia's Racial Integrity Act, which meant, they cannot live together and be married because they're an interracial couple. They spend the night. He spends the night in jail. They lock her up for 3 nights. They don't even let her go. She has to get her father to come pick her up. They wouldn't even give her to the care of, her husband. And basically the judge gives them a deal. And he says, all right, look, you guys are going to jail. Or you could leave the state, but you cannot, you're like banished from Virginia for 25 years.
Really?
As a married couple. Yeah. You guys are banished.
That's so...
Really? You're banishing me? Like, what is this nonsense?
I'd be like, thank you.
Yeah, I know. It's like the this is what goes on in 1958, 60.
Well, weird things that happen now, so this doesn't surprise me.
I know. It's like, you're banished from Virginia.
You live in Florida. This should not surprise you.
No,
okay.
it actually doesn't.
Okay.
So they moved to Washington, D.C. because it's close, but they don't like it there. Their whole family is in Virginia, and they don't like living like the city life in D.C. And then secretly, they actually do move back to Virginia without telling anyone. But at this time now the civil rights movement is getting in gear.
Yeah.
Right? Martin Luther King Jr. and all of them are getting in gear here. So they take it to the courts. They're like, hey, this is ridiculous. Why can't we be married?
Right.
So they actually get it to the Supreme Court of the United States.
Wow.
1967, the Supreme Court gets this case on Virginia basically saying they can't be married. And the courts rule in the favor of the Lovings. They say, look, this violates the 14th Amendment of the United States of America, which is you have equal protection under the law. And it basically, what does it matter? If you're a citizen of the United States, you should be equal.
Yeah.
That's the 14th Amendment. It's in your 14th Amendment. So the Supreme Court says that their marriage is legit. And these states basically cannot provide these laws anymore, which is pretty cool. Finally, 1967.
Yeah.
Of course, some states were holdouts. Alabama, Roll Tide. 2000, they finally say, okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Till 2000.
2000. This is actually funny. This reminds me when I used to teach. So the 13th, and this is going off. You guys, you think everyone will care? I don't know.
No, do it.
So the 13th Amendment of the United States Constitution abolishes slavery.
Okay.
Right after the end of the Civil War, 1865.
Okay.
Slavery is abolished.
Right.
But, as a state, you have to ratify that. You have to say, you have to vote and say, yep, we agree to that.
Oh.
Now it's still illegal in the United States. Slavery after that was illegal. But technically in that state, if they don't ratify it, it's still legal.
It's like a loose end, like a little loophole or something.
It's like a loose end. I mean, not that they were practicing it, but it's still a loose end. So I always love to tell I used to love to tell my kids the story that Mississippi didn't ratify the 13th Amendment. What year do you think possibly Mississippi ratified the 13th Amendment? 1865, 13th Amendment comes out, the states ratify it, and then Mississippi ratifies that state in the year, take a guess.
I don't know. Oh, God. 1980.
Okay, good guess.
Oh, really?
Yeah, remember 1865?
Yeah,
so
I thought like, the 80s, maybe they got it together.
1995.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. They finally get around to it in 1995. Now, this gets even funnier. Because
it's like funny in a dark way.
Yeah, it's funny. Oh, in a dark way. Yeah,
like
yeah. I mean, this is ridiculous, but
right.
yes, in a dark way, it's funny. So when I was teaching, I always tell the kids, I'd always put them to the task, like, what year do you think they did it?
Right.
And like 19. They shout out the guesses. Mm-hmm. It was 1995. But now, actually, that was wrong too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because this is really funny. They finally voted on it in 1995, but apparently no one ever got around to filing it.
Stop.
So you would think like something that important, like the end of slavery, you would get around to filing that.
Right.
So it was funny because I'm doing the research. I'm just for your fun, I wanted to look this up.
Yeah.
I used to tell that story.
And they enjoyed that one, yeah.
And I'm like, wait a second. I always told the 1995 story, but they still didn't get their act together and they didn't get it filed. Guess what year it actually finally got filed? And became official, the end of slavery in Mississippi, the state of Mississippi.
Like 2005.
2013.
Stop. Somebody actually finally.
Yeah, someone actually, I think they made a movie or something. And then finally
really?
it was brought to the attention and someone looked into it and they still didn't file it. Okay, but anyway. That's America, so.
Calling out Mississippi.
Calling out Alabama, Mississippi.
Okay.
But 2013, finally, it's officially on the books. End of slavery in the state of Mississippi.
Wow.
That's crazy. All right, but what do you get from these guys?
All right. Wait, so what happened?
Oh, so...
They moved back.
Yeah.
It was like you said there was like... Oh, so they won.
They won, yeah.
Okay, now what?
And they moved back to... They were allowed to live in Virginia.
All right.
And unfortunately, which is horrible, they moved back to Virginia. And then I think about 8 years later... They were driving home one night, and a drunk driver killed Richard.
Oh my God!
And Mildred lived, but Richard died from a drunk driver.
That's horrible.
Yeah, which is horrible. Yeah, so.
That's really sad.
Yeah,
God. When I look at their pictures, all right. So she's tricolored, which is interesting. She's blue and yellow and purple.
Okay.
And he's green and blue. So, I mean, here's my thing, and I think it's kind of a good kind of trouble, but they were looking for a good kind of trouble. That's my vibe on these two. They were like, you know what?
Let's do this.
Let's razz up life a little bit. Like, let's poke that bear. Probably most people don't do that. Most people don't do that. If you were an interracial couple and you just like, let's just move. We're not doing this.
We're not going back.
Come on. And then they went back. I think like they didn't mind a little bit of that, which is good, and we need that. We need those kind of people in this world. But she feels real fun to me. I have to say, like she feels like it's like that purple plus the tricolor. So I can see with her just being really enthusiastic and really just like, let's do this. Like her personality feels really feisty and fun, and that's what she gives me. And then Richard to me feels like, in a green way, the justice thing, like where it's like, no. And he probably was familiar with the law and he's like, this is what I did and this is how it is. And that doesn't make sense. So I'll talk sometimes about green people having the 10 commandments of the green and they live by it in their head. I feel like that was his thing, like this. And that's with society. I'll see a lot of green people do that. Like that doesn't make sense. Let's change it. So he just got attached to that or whatever. So they feel like a couple that, but he feels a little more serious than she does, which I think is funny. Just in general in life. Like he feels a little bit, I'm just getting their personality or how they interacted together. Like he feels more serious in a way that's kind of probably fun for her to poke on or, so that's, I get their dynamic is really cute, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
He has kind of like a more serious kind of patriarchal demeanor and she feels like a little silly. So I think that's how they work together, that little opposites attract situation. But shared vision is let's use both of those qualities to shake it up. If they didn't fall in love, I don't know what would have happened. You know what I mean? If they didn't shake it up, who knows,
Yeah, I mean, I guess they could have easily just moved to a northern state and been done with it. And that would have been it, right?
Yeah, he feels like angry about something, though. I do feel that in his picture.
Okay. Is that and
that's the thing. It's like when they're fighting, so I get like an anger on him.
Yeah.
Like an anger. But then, before you said DUI, I should have said he felt murdered to me or something. But I guess that is what happened to him. I guess you could say that.
I mean, could you get anything from that, or is it too hard?
He feels angry, like annoyed, like, annoyed is like a very. Sometimes I'll get when people are taken out of their life too soon. On the other side, they're like annoyed, like I wasn't done yet.
I had more stuff.
More stuff to do, which I bet they would have.
Yeah,
and I can see them having like a career with maybe even more speaking or more education or becoming, talking about their experience and whatnot.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that could have. Yeah. Because I think she retreated after that.
Sure. Sure. Yeah,
that's interesting.
Well, he was like he's green, so he feels more organized in that way, like with the direction of their story.
Yeah, very fascinating story.
Yeah,
very fascinating. And a lot of courage.
I can't imagine. Just what your life, the looks that you get, just how uncomfortable it would be. just thinking as an empath, how uncomfortable that would be. To just know that, the neighbor, everyone. It's just that they could deal with that is amazing and remarkable to me. And then they move back to it. Yeah. Yeah. They had kids, right?
Yep. They had kids together.
Okay.
I think they had a lot of kids.
Oh, wow.
I might have it in my notes. They definitely had a lot of kids together.
I just felt kids on them. That's why.
They definitely have kids. Yeah. I think they had 2 kids. I'm pretty sure they had 2 kids. I'm getting all confused with all the amount of kids everyone had.
I know.
Well, the couples.
I know. This is hard. And that's, I think, part of like when we were talking about doing this podcast. You're like, love stories, meh, you know what I mean? But it's all those details that maybe you're not used to paying attention to.
Yes. All right. Well, the last couple we have, they walked the line. All right. Well, at least one of them did anyway. So that is, of course, Johnny Cash and June Carter. Eventually, June Carter Cash.
Okay.
All right. So, we're back in Virginia here. Johnny Cash was born in Virginia. Oh, sorry, in Arkansas. And June Carter Cash was born in Virginia. They met at the Grand Ole Opry in, where's that? Nashville, outside of Nashville, right? After an Elvis concert. I guess apparently Elvis was telling June that she's got to listen to this guy Johnny's music.
Really?
She's going to love it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So this is in the 1950s. And when they first meet, well, maybe not soulmates like us. We're not twin flames, as I've been told, but maybe some twin flame action going on here. I'll ask you. They instant attraction. They were both married, by the way, when they met.
Of course.
When Jude and Johnny met.
Right.
But when they first met each other, it was like this instant attraction to each other. Like, just fell in love instantaneously.
Right.
And I guess the people they were married to, well, screw them.
Yeah, too bad.
We're twin flames.
Oh, my God.
Nothing else matters. So, I don't know. Tell me about their auras. They got to be purples, right?
When I look at... they're both... Okay, so she's purple-blue, and he's green-purple.
Okay.
And I just get chemistry. That's what I get.
Yeah.
Which is I've explained it in the podcast sometimes before. Some couples, I'll just get like this electric feeling with you and your partner sometimes, which can be a little awkward. I'm like, ooh, I get...
Yeah.
So, yeah, I get that with them. Very just passion. And probably, and the kind of passion that people write about, the kind of passion that make people go mad.
Okay.
Like the kind of passion that you're like, this can't be real. Like that kind of passion. So it definitely doesn't feel I don't know. Like all these other people, by the way, I should have said it. They all feel like soulmate connections.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I should have said that. Like they all feel like soulmate connections.
Helen and Cesar Chavez, soulmate. The Lovings are soulmates. The Currys are
soulmates. That's what it feels like to me. And if you want to, I did a relationship inventory episode. If you want to,
but these guys are.
They feel more like
twin flame,
like kindred a little bit, maybe a little twin flamey. It's kind of walking the line.
Yeah, walking the line.
Between the two of those.
In a ring of fire.
It's hard because I feel like they had a lot of, ups and downs, obviously, and they both like purple bombed their lives to be together. So they both did purple bombs. Like they probably both wanted excuses to get out of what they were already in their relationships. And then they kind of like found that in each other. Yeah. So it's that and the artistry and just like he's green purple. Green purples can be so intense. green purple auras. I see a lot of rock star green purple auras. I just watched that Pamela and Tommy Lee documentary. Tommy Lee was a green purple aura. Okay, so green purple auras can be very intense, very passionate, very like controlling in a way. Not always bad, just whoa, like he's really interested in these, like just very on top of you. And she's purple blue, so I feel like she was like, whatever, kind of more flex or like, I don't know, chill or, in, out. It has to be won over a lot, that kind of thing. So it feels like they had a lot of ups and downs. But, I mean, they made great music.
Oh, they did. And they performed together. Another famous song, In the Ring of Fire.
Yes.
That's what she basically said it was like being with Johnny. So, and the other thing, I mean, there's a lot of movies that made about them, so maybe you've seen some of them. But, Johnny kept asking for her to marry him, and she kept saying no. And then finally, in a very famous concert on stage, he asked her in front of like 7,000 crazy fans.
I should link that. That's cool.
She finally said yes. So in 1968, they were married. But then we all know the story of Johnny Cash, that addiction,
yeah.
All these addictions, drugs, prescription drugs.
Yeah.
Everything under anything and everything. He did it.
God.
Infidelity, cheating, all this stuff. But they remained married for 35 years.
Wow.
They were married for 35 years. And she died in 2003. Mm-hmm. And he died only 4 months later. So, and it was interesting. During his last performance, you might get chills here. I'm already getting them. His last performance of Ring of Fire, he basically told the crowd that she was there with them in spirit.
Oh, my God.
And I believe him.
I believe him, too.
I have chills.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and then he died 4 months later. And you could probably know why. I mean, they probably couldn't live with,
they couldn't live apart.
Yeah,
he needed her.
He needed her, yeah. And she was with him through all those addictions and probably infidelities. Again, I can't say for sure, but yeah.
It's like one of those things, it's like nothing's perfect. I don't know how to wrap that with a bow.
No, I don't think we can.
It's really flippin' interesting though. Like relationships like that, they're that's amazing. It's sustained.
Yeah, for that long.
That long, yeah. Probably because she was just going to put up with it. That was probably why.
She probably did.
Yeah.
Just,
But you can love somebody, you can be in love, you can love someone and they can love you and you can still hurt each other really badly. And I see that all the time in readings. I'll be like, man, it's not, love isn't the problem. It's like how you treat someone you love, how you treat yourself when someone loves you. Like, why are you always trying to ruin it when someone loves you? Do you not feel worthy of it? Like, what is that? So it's so many different components to it, but definitely makes sense they were artists. Yeah.
Definitely a lot of purple going on there.
Well, speaking of artists.
Yes. Oh, okay. So we're wrapping this up. All right. We're done with Johnny Cash and June Carter. We've completed our couples. They've been everywhere, man.
That was it.
But should we do it? All right. Let's do overtime.
Overtime.
Jumanji. All right. Here we go.
Rules of overtime.
You tell them.
You can go now.
You're allowed to leave. We're done.
We don't have anything planned.
Right. Our lesson plans are over.
And I don't know if somebody says something insulting, sorry.
Yeah, it's on you. So basically anything we say now, it's on you. It's not our fault. You're free to leave. I actually asked one of the discussion groups, I'm like, you guys will all leave during overtime, right? They're like, no, that's our favorite part. I'm like, okay. Well, all right, here, I got one.
Okay.
Right, so the other day, I'm watching an award show. I'm not even mentioning which one. It doesn't even deserve to be mentioned.
The Grammys. I was watching the Grammys.
Horrible show. And so I go on TikTok, which I do periodically once in a while. And I see you did a TikTok.
Yeah.
On Doja
Cat.
Okay, I don't know who this person is.
Yeah.
But whatever, it seemed like a nice TikTok.
Whatever.
I don't know what this is. Doja
TikTok's
Cat.
weird.
Who names himself Doja Cat?
Her name's Doja Cat,
Fine.
right.
Who names himself Mr. Michaela? All right. So
it's true.
Doja Cat. Anyway, so and I'm like, and I guess maybe she was up for an award. I don't know. Did she get Grammys? Is this a Grammy
I don't
person?
know. I don't know.
So I'm reading a couple of the comments, and someone, and you did this whole thing about her doing like an aura protection.
She's like an aura
bubble
shield. Yeah, it's weird. Yeah. She's got a weird aura.
Yeah, and then someone writes, well, that's because she's part of the Illuminati.
Just back it up. Just random on TikTok. It is a weird world on there. Like anything I post, I don't know. Like, people say the weirdest stuff, and it doesn't even faze me anymore.
Yeah.
But I put up Doja Cat, and all of a sudden, everyone's jumping on she's on the Illuminati train, and you're like, what's that?
Yeah, and I'm like, I've heard about that, but, like, I always think it's, like, conspiracy stuff, and I'm like, all right, let me look, what is this? And then I'm like...
And Brie gets involved.
Yeah,
she's like, oh, yeah, everybody thinks she's part of the Illuminati.
Yeah, and I'm like,
like our teenager.
And I'm like, all right, what is this? And then I do some research on it. And I'm like, it's boring me, whatever. This group that thought they'd rule the world. And, secret society stuff.
Yeah, you said, what did you say about it?
Yeah, it actually died out, they claim. But you know what? Then I'm thinking, like, wait a second here. Wait a second. This might explain stuff to...
So this is the part of Overtime where Scott might be a conspiracy TikTok theorist.
I'm like, wait a second. I don't know who this person is.
The only thing that makes sense to you.
Yeah, because
why people care about this person or anybody on the Grammys.
Okay. Yeah, all right, here comes the red rant during Overtime. This is like a double. Now, my problem with the Grammys, and I've said this before on the podcast, so it's Overtime, you can leave, is that there are so many incredible singers out there.
True.
There's probably so many incredible singer-songwriters, guitarists that are listening to this podcast right now.
It is true.
That absolutely destroy the people that are up for Grammys. Okay? Like Harry Styles. What is that music? What is that pop, nonsense, vanilla, garbage, sugar, watermelon high? I don't get it. There's definitely people better than him.
God, this is a full-on red rant.
So what I'm saying is, like,
he's sweating.
There's like people like Andy. What's that other guy? Andy Graham. Like,
all right, nobody talks about him anymore.
Right,
you got it. You have to update your red rant stuff.
Fine. I updated to Harry Styles.
Okay, fine. You did.
Fine. But I'm saying to myself, like, wait a second. Like, who are these? Like, how is that person above the other one? And I'm like thinking, maybe it's this Illuminati thing. Well, it's the only thing that makes sense.
We looked it up because actually last year you had a horrific red rant about Justin Bieber with the Peaches song.
Yeah, I couldn't. Yeah,
and you were like, I don't get it, and you were pacing. We were very upset.
Well,
and we did look it up, and it seems like record companies, allegedly, I don't know if I have to say that. Like, it seems like you get buttered up to get the votes or whatever.
It's a pay to win.
It's a lot of Eminem said. I saw his whole interview, and Eminem said it too. Like it's a game.
Yeah, it's a game.
It's a handshake game or whatever. Yeah. That's what a lot of them say. I think the Weeknd guy said it. The Weeknd. He was saying he won't even go. He boycotted them.
Yeah.
So I think it's a lot of people are saying it's fake and all that. So you're not wrong, but now you're taking it a step up and saying it's all like a conspiracy theory.
Right, because I always knew it was fake, because how could it not be fake when Justin Bieber's like anytime? Okay, so basically what you're trying to tell me is anytime that Justin Bieber comes out with an album, he's going to be a Grammy finalist. Like, I don't know if he'll win the award, but he's going to be in it.
Right.
Any single time. So
I guess.
Anytime that Harry Styles makes a new album, he's going to be up for Album of the Year. How is that possible?
I know. I think it's record company.
Yeah. So I think. Yeah. So I looked into it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and they pay. Who pays and who butters them up, and
right.
And all this thing, because obviously Justin Bieber cannot win an award for singing a song about peaches in Georgia, which is a horrible song. It's not a good song.
All right, but yeah. So now what happened was then Brie gets involved.
Yeah.
And then we start looking at these TikToks, and they're so weird. Like, they're like, join us to be careful of the Illuminati, like all like at the Simpsons, like it said all these things, like all these symbols. Yeah. And that like Katy Perry's a robot and stuff, and you're like, maybe. Yeah. You're like, maybe. Like, that's the first thing that makes sense to me out of anything.
Yes, that's correct.
But like, TikTok's crazy. Like, I saw a TikTok that left-handed people aren't real, that it's fake, and you're left-handed.
That's true.
Are you making it up?
I possibly could be not real.
You think TikTok's so crazy, but it's true. But you put up certain artists, like people go nuts.
No, I know.
Like, I did a Beyonce TikTok too, when people were like Illuminati. Like, people go crazy.
There's just some of them are just there's no talent there, and you wonder. And before TikTok, and before that, I'm starting to believe they might be Illuminati. I used to always just say, "Oh, they must have made some sort of deal with the devil." That was my go-to.
You always said that.
Oh, the devil came to them one day.
You always did say that.
Yeah, they were in a gazebo somewhere, sitting there. The devil pops up.
Like, what's that Keanu Reeves movie?
Oh yeah, Brendan Fraser. He makes a deal with the devil.
Oh, Bedazzled. That's such a great movie.
Yeah, and I'm like, yes, that's what's happening here. Someone walks up to Harry Styles and is like, hey, you're going to be the pop star of the year, but after this is over, you owe me your soul.
Right.
And I'm like, that made sense to me. that made sense.
Devil's advocate.
Okay.
That was where that's what you thought it was. And, but you've always said that since I met you.
Yes, I've been always saying this, like Pitbull, how this guy just jumps around like a little bean and he's like Mr. Worldwide. I mean, really? Pitbull?
Yeah.
What?
You've had that reference.
Yeah. So I always thought it was they made a deal with the devil.
But now this is like your updated theory that they're Illuminati.
Updated theory is they might be Illuminati.
Or they could be like AI or robot or planted.
Yeah, there's something going on.
So I think you should start your own TikTok channel.
I could.
You expose the Illuminati, AI, alien, lizard people. Like, go for it.
All right.
It'd probably be very popular on there.
Probably.
So that's what happens. I can't even watch the Grammys. Like, I'm watching the Grammys. Harry Styles, like, walking on, in his glitter suit or whatever.
Yeah.
And
he looked like a tinsel on a Christmas tree.
But then he won, and everyone's like, get off the stage. And you were, like, dying. You're like, are they telling him to get off the stage?
They were. And then, he came out in tinsel.
And then you're the only one in Ben Affleck's corner.
Yeah. I think he was all grumpy there. I know this is like what happened weeks ago or whatever now.
It did, I know. By the time this comes out, nobody cares.
I watched it for 2 minutes and I was grumpy. I was just sitting there and it made me grumpy. I had to turn on Gilmore Girls just to get over it. So
I just felt bad. I felt bad for Jennifer Lopez, though. I mean, like, this is her bread and butter. Like, she, slap on a smile for your wife.
Couldn't she have just brought Matt Damon? Like it said, like, hey, like they have like an arrangement. Like Affleck tells Damon, like, hey, you take this one.
Right.
I'll get the next awards. I don't know, something like that. You take her.
Okay.
All right.
So that was over.
All right. That was over.
Scott just had to tell you that he's a conspiracy theorist now.
I possibly believe that the Illuminati is running the Grammys.
Wow. You possibly believe it.
I possibly. Not 100%, but I possibly believe it.
All right. Okay, this podcast is for you and about you, and we're so glad you spent some time with us today.